All right, if you are excited to be here, I'm going to say education, and you say 2.0. Education. 2.0. Education. 2.0. We are here to share ideas. We are here to connect with one another. And today, for the next 30 minutes, 25 minutes, I am going to share my heart and what I believe is going to make a massive difference in education. So, as Rachel said, if you are on LinkedIn, please connect with me. You're going to search Deanna Hurn. Let's connect. If you have an aha during the course of this keynote, share that on LinkedIn. Make a comment, and let's definitely connect. So, I was sitting in the room today, and a couple of my friends that I just met from India and Indonesia, amazing people from all over the world. V is sitting here, my new good friend from India. And we were just excited about being able to be in the room with human beings after being in our homes. Does anybody have children in the room? I have 4 daughters, right? And when everything shut down, it was just like, what's happening? What's going on, right? I mean, was this you? Can you guys relate to this? If you are a leader in this space, if you are a department manager, a CEO, CIOs, anywhere, when I first heard the words shut down, did you guys ever think the world would completely shut down? And that just wasn't in the States. That was all over the world. And it was like, what is going on? We had to decide what we were going to do about our customers and our clients and our employees and the people that we serve to be able to function. Can anybody relate to this? Was I the only person that kind of was like, what in the world is going on? If you can relate to that, raise your hand. If you can relate to that, yes, absolutely, right? And so there were just so many different things that took place. Director General Audrey Azoulay of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization said it best. Never before have we witnessed educational disruption at this scale. Let's think about that. Never before in the history of time have we saw an educational disruption at this scale. It's huge. But let's just think about this. Leaders, moms, dads, grandparents, uncles, aunties, CEOs, CIOs, government officials, university leaders, admins, administrators. We all had to sort through this. We did not have answers. Can you imagine being a child? Watching the adults that are there to cover you, to shield and protect you, be just as antsy? Can you imagine what it is to be in their shoes? Their routines were broken, right? Get up in the morning, take the kids to school, right? I have a 9-month-old. We have an 18-year-old. I have an 18-year-old, and I have a 9-month-old. My husband and I, who is my business partner, who's here with the camera right in front, so grateful for him. We met in high school. We've been together for years. And we have 4 daughters that we get to raise. And we have had routines with them. For us to be able to do the things that we do in the world to serve our community, we have routines. Those routines were broken. Family members were lost. Stress. Meals. Some kids lost their free meals at school, right? Not everybody has a home to go to with meals. So the only place that they get those meals is when they go to school. That's no longer there. Learning loss, anxiety, friends. My daughter Soraya was heavily impacted by the fact that she is so engaged with her friends and no longer can she learn with them. They had to abruptly, it was just immediately figure out how to go online through Google Meets, through Zoom. The teachers had to figure it out. And they could not connect with their friends. Whenever our brains are under stress, what happens is that prefrontal cortex, the front part of our brain, that is our thinking brain, right? When we are in survival mode, that is our emotional brain, that is our survival brain, that is our limbic system. The thinking brain shuts down. You can't use those executive functions at their most optimal places when you are under stress. Let's bring it home. These are three very important men to me. My father, my husband, who served in the community before he retired from law enforcement, and my grandfather, who was the matriarch of our family. Many of us lost loved ones. I lost my grandfather. How many of you know someone or someone in your family or someone connected to you passed away during COVID? Raise your hands. That's many of us. And what happened during this process is that we must first recognize what just happened to us. As human beings, we must recognize that there is not one person in this room that was not in this pandemic, not even a baby in a mother's womb. I have a 9-month-old, so that means I was pregnant during this pandemic. When I got my vaccine, that went to her, those antibodies, right? That stress. Anything that I was feeling, she felt. Every human being on the planet on the planet Earth was impacted. And so stress and trauma is no longer their problem. It is ours. But I have some good news for you. Everybody say good news. Everybody say good news. Grief and resilience can live together. It doesn't have to be one. We can actually be resilient and we can deal with grief at the same time. They have this song in the States that's an old school song called Joy and Pain, Sunshine and Rain. They can live together. If any of you have had a child, you know that joy and pain can live together, can't they? Can't you be excited about that baby that's coming, father and mother? And then there's pain to go through the process of having that baby. What about being a leader and getting feedback from other people? Those growing pains are not easy. Growing a company from very small to very large, if you are a leader in this room, come on. You guys know there is a process to growth. There is a process to developing yourself as a human being so that you can steward and take care of those that you serve. So how do we respond? So we must first recognize, how do we respond to what we just went through? I say, a system that has been fractured, a system that has gone through years and years of change without true transformation and being reimagined, really needs something that I've coined and called academic healing. Yes, you heard it first from Deanna Hurn. Academic healing, it is a process. It is the process of creating learning experiences that are viable and sound to allow students to be seen, heard, and embraced for the individual human beings that there are. Science shows, neuroscience shows, there are no two brains alike. It is very important. In order for us to turn on the thinking brain, we must heal our system. And in order for us to rise and do that, there are actions that we need to take. So before we go into that, I want to note this to you, these facts. You have a global threat and you have global challenges. Well, what is the difference between a threat and a challenge? Well, a global challenge, if you look here, the perceived stressor, okay, is either the perceived stressor is equal or exceeded by the perceived resources. That is a challenge, which means that you can grow. Well, let's talk about a threat. With a threat, as you can see here, the perceived stressor exceeds the resources. There's not enough here. There's not enough to hear. What happened in the beginning of the pandemic? No vaccine, no research. We didn't even know how you can contract a disease. How did that make you feel? I was stressed. I was anxious. I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want my kids to die. I didn't want my family members to die. I was freaking out. That was a threat. But today we sit in this room because we understand that masks are a way to protect us. We know social distancing. We have vaccines. We have boosters. I have the mark on my arm to prove the booster that I just got. Huge knot in my arm. Anybody can relate to that, right? So the simple change here is collaboration, global collaboration. What education 2.0 is doing. So when I say education, you say 2.0. Education. Education. So that's what we're here to do, is to serve the moment. And just like you, I'm here to be of service and to add value to everyone in the room, because we are here, we are like-minded human beings looking for a way to innovate. Innovation, I believe, is the bridge between stressors and resilience. In order to be resilient, you have to adapt. In order to adapt, you have to be creative. In order to be creative, you have to think outside the box, right? And so we are here to serve the moment. And you guys can hashtag these later to connect. But as we bring that information together, our world is filled with so much information. It is all about content now. But are we embodying what we're putting out there? I think the most important thing that we can do, and John Maxwell said it best, we teach what we know, but we reproduce, focus on that word, who we are. If we are going to transcend and allow our future, allow our children and their children's children to carry forward the work that we're doing here, we have to become the change that we want to see. We have to embrace our process. We have to be willing to do the work of healing. We have to do the work of being inclusive, listening to others, being curious, asking questions. And I believe that all of you have made the choice to be that. What I'm saying is be intentional about that process, because that is what's going to empower all of us to create lifelong change, generational change, global change, when we embody the work that we put out into the universe. The last thing, which is my favorite thing, lead with the brain in mind. I believe there are 5 skills, and if I have time, I'll share them with you, that every powerful leader is going to need to be effective in the future. And one of those skills is to increase your capacity for brain-based learning, to understand the latest scientific research of how the brain actually learns. That means understanding how your staff think, what makes them behave the way that they behave. You know, marketing has it right. Those ads, yeah, are you that person that goes and buys it after you see it on TV? They understand our psychology and how we think in ways that we have not even come to understand. Why can't we bring that in to serve the people that we serve in education, to make a difference, to be intentional of how we study, how we think, and how we learn, and how our students are individuals, how our staff processes things. I think it's going to be very important in the future to understand how to lead with the brain and mind. You matter. In some way, you are here because you affect the student. Whether you're the parent, you're the family member, you're the teacher, you're part of the community or village, or the educational system, you are in the ecosystem of what affects the learner. You're here today because you have impact. And I applaud you for being intentional about that. I have to recognize Dubai Cares because I did some research as I was kind of preparing for this. And I really just want to say, and Rachel, she and I were kind of talking about this, go to the expo. I have not been yet, but I cannot wait to be in that space where innovation is, and to just really, I wanted to recognize in this presentation the leaders, that have taken the time to really pour into the community and to give back to those that are in poverty and to ensure that the gap in education is closed. And so I want to recognize the work that is being done with Dubai Cares. I want to invite you to help me make some personal history. I want to invite you to break down any silos, to come into the United States with me, not literally, but figuratively. I will be 40 years old in October. I'm 39. And the most important thing to me is not a gift that I get. It's not any tangible things that I can ever get in this world. I want to make my mark. I want the world to know that I was here and that my faith is not something that I just say. I want to embody it. Do you feel that way? I believe that's why you're here. And one of the most important things for me that I thought, what is it that I would like for my birthday? I want to make an intentional impact on 40,000 people's lives. Whether that's speaking. I own a learning center called Miracle Math Coaching Brain-Based Learning Center. We're opening up a state-of-the-art learning center that's been in construction since the beginning of this year. Counting every family that's coming in, is my life, our lives, my team's lives, those that I serve, are people being changed by every breath that I take and every year that I get to live because life is short. So I invite you, if there's a tug in your heart, if you have an organization, whatever it may be, if you feel our missions are connected, if you feel that there is value in us joining together to make an impact, I want to be a part of that. Last piece here. Les Brown is one of my favorite motivational speakers, and he said, you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to get started to become great. Thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for this opportunity, and if I may, I would love to take a selfie with you guys in the background. You good with that? All right. Thank you.
Give her a round of applause, everybody. Deanna Hurn, come on, get your phones out. Start connecting with this powerhouse. She's incredible. She's changing lives, and let's all smile for the camera. Go, girl. Go, girl. Congratulations. Great, great, great. We're going to open it up for questions. What do you think about that? Okay, so anyone with questions, please raise your hand. We have guys with microphones coming around the room. I want you to start thinking about how she's changing lives, what she can do, and maybe how you and her can start, potentially brainstorming together. We got someone in the middle. We'll get you coming right now.
Hi, great presentation. You mentioned about recognize. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on that? How do we recognize?
Just what we did today. Call it out. Call it out. Don't bury it. Call it out. And sometimes creating a safe container, right, for other people. And I'm glad that you asked the question, because one of the skills that I believe is going to be very important for us to safely recognize is to get skills to do so. They have all kinds of work around trauma transformed and healing systems work. You can always search it. But it's a framework to help us to develop common language, common definitions around stress and trauma. And I think when we call it out and we recognize it and we create these intentional safe containers, it allows us, when we recognize those things inside of us that have been tough to recognize, you disarm it, right? And so it allows us, it empowers us to accept our humanity. And that's what allows you to connect. It allows you're giving yourself and your students permission to be human. And when you embody that, it allows them to give themselves permission, because now they have a model on how to do it. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Fantastic. All right, who else in the room wants to engage with Diana? Let's find out a little bit more about her math. Perfect.
Okay, hello. I'm a professor. I'm into education. And I have some very, very pertinent questions, especially I'm also a grandmother. I have a granddaughter, 5-year-old. She was a very people person first. before this pandemic, and she used to go out and go talk with people. But now, after the online education stuff and everything started, she is turning into sort of like an introvert outside the home. She doesn't want to go outside. She doesn't want to go to school. She doesn't want to do the online classes. So this is something I recognize. This is an impact of this new times. But what I wanted to find out is how to deal with it. Do I accept it and say that, okay, let things turn out as it is going to be in the future? Or is there something that I can do? Because I sort of like that people person, going out, an outgoing person, not this girl who's sitting in front of the YouTube watching all those cartoons and films. How do I deal with it?
It's a very good question. And we've seen this with a lot of students, even in our learning centers. A lot of students that were very extroverted, they were very social, and then when the pandemic happened, how do I reason with what just happened? And they go within and they stay there because they don't know when it's safe to come back out. And one thing you said was, do I accept it? I accept it, but also meet her where she is by being where she's at. Meaning, do you guys watch movies together? Do you watch TV? Do you listen to music? Yeah? So let's just say you're watching like a Disney show or something, right? And like Moana. I don't know if you know about Moana,
Yes.
but okay, cool. Everybody knows about Moana. This is great. I love Moana. So Moana goes on this adventure, and she has to trust herself, and she has these things inside of her. You're just watching Moana with your granddaughter. You're just watching. You're like, oh my God, look how strong she is. Oh my gosh, Moana went through some things, right? She questioned herself. The waves came at her. She doubted herself. She almost went back. She almost gave in. But there was a calling inside of her that just kept her moving forward. Just be with her and call out the resilience in the movie. Call it out. Like, just be natural. Just be there with the kids and like call resilience out. Even if you don't direct it towards them, just direct it towards the movie. And those subconsciously, you're speaking to the subconscious mind. You're bringing it to the conscious mind, right? It's just kind of subliminal. I call it subconscious parenting, right? You're loving them indirectly, but you're planting seeds that are going to be watered. And you want to be intentional. So you have to be intentional. And that's why I believe brain-based learning is so important for people to expand their capacity on this, because it helps you to know how to take this information to do good with it, to make a measurable difference in the lives of your loved ones, your staff, your students, your organizations. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Great, we got time for one more question. Perfect. Great engagement. I'm going to ask all the people that grab the mic to please do me a favor. We want to know who you are and what you're doing here. So just stand up, introduce yourself, okay? So if people in the room, if they want to find out more, they can always take that time during the coffee break and really maximize their experience.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm from Singapore.
Welcome.
I just have a few things to say regarding what we mentioned about the trauma and also resilience on the pandemic. So, as an educator, I actually feel that the pandemic has brought the relationship between my students and me a lot closer. And this is because I think every day when we go for lessons with Google, we have no human touch. However, I ask questions like how you're feeling, and they are, feeling a lot of anxiety. The schools in Singapore, give them a lot of work, and in order to just keep up with whatever that they are missing. So, however, when they expressed their feelings and it got us closer. And what I taught them was a lot of skills. They become a more self-directed learner. Yeah, so I teach as young as 2-year-olds up to 18. And even the, say primary primary 2 and primary 3. So what they had to do was to text me before they come online because I was tired. The first lockdown, I was tired of all the chasing. The second lockdown, I was like, no, you are going to look for me. So they will text me and they will tell me, Miss Hannah, it's time for class. And I actually felt that this resilience or this impact or the trauma of COVID itself has actually brought a certain opportunity for the students to stretch themselves.
Can I say this? I want to applaud you. But can I say, she's a model of embodying recognizing. She's created a safe container for her students to express themselves. She's invited them to be able to express this. And being a teacher and influencer in their village of support, that's giving them permission. And she's embracing that and seeing the resilience carry forth over and over, and you're embodying that. Can we just give her a hand, guys?
Round of
thank
applause
you
for
so
Singapore.
much.
Miss Hannah, well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Actually,
much.
I didn't even know what I was doing right in the first place. I was trying. But I really felt that it actually taught them to be self-directed learners and being so much more responsible towards their learning. Thank you
so much. Pleasure.
Amazing.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. We're going to find a lot of people. I think before you go, one more. I think there's a microphone out in that crowd. Before it's pulled back, somebody else has a microphone? Stand on up, girl.
Hi, I'm Shraddha and I'm from India. So just to add on to what you spoke to her about unconsciously talking to children, we do that from the time we conceive children in our womb. We unconsciously talk to children, and when they are born, we can see those values and we can see what we've been talking to them. So I just wanted to add that when you were just talking about it.
Yes, words have life, right? And
Yes.
we have to be intentional of what we speak even from birth. I absolutely adore that. And when parents don't know that, and you have someone that's in their village of support, like this amazing teacher here, they get to speak words of life and meet them at that point. So that's why it's so beautiful that no matter where you are in that village of support, that you are intentional about what you do. Thank you guys so much. I know that we have other speakers. All right, I'm grateful to be
Amazing.
here.
Give her a round of applause. Deanna Hurn, show me.